Let's talk a little bit about the hiatus. 7 years that you were away from music. You returned in 2023. We talked a little bit about why you left. Here's the question: why'd you come back? Because eventually something has to say, screw all this. I'm going to be who I am, right? I mean, that's essentially what has to happen, right?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you asked me this question. And, it gets kind of dark, and I hope you're okay with that. But,
Please, yeah, whatever your story is, we're happy to tell it.
well, good. As I said, music wasn't fun for me. It became something that felt like I had to pedal, and it felt like, especially growing up in Nashville, man, everybody does this. It feels like, and everybody's good at it. So for me, I was like, "Oh my God, there's a ladder I have to climb. This doesn't feel right. This genre that I'm trying to figure out doesn't feel right. I'm gonna be done." And so then I started pouring my passion into my job. I said, "You know what? I'll get really good at whatever job I have." And I did. Every job that I had after that, I either ended up on salary or I became the manager of whatever it was, And then I had my daughter, and I said, well, this is now going to be my purpose. My purpose is going to be taking care of her. I've made good money for a long time. Now I'll be poor and happy for a while, and I'm going to take care of her. And so then my purpose changed to that. And I absolutely loved that until one day I ended up in the hospital, and I was very, very sick. And then I could no longer take care of my daughter. And so my purpose just kept shifting and shifting and shifting until a point where I had to be taken care of. And then I felt like a burden. And everything that I had, everything that I told myself I was good for, I was no longer good for. And then I became very depressed. And I think I was in bed for, it was days. It was days. It was months. And spent every day just in bed. And so I was like praying just to be done, to be very fair. And I was like, you know what? If God is going to make me breathe, uh, I better freaking do something with it. So what am I good for? All I can do right now is think and speak. So I guess that's all I'm going to do. And then I was like, I'm going to start learning how to like myself despite what my body can or can't do. Because I'm a very busy person. And I there was a point where I was hospitalized because I worked too hard. You know, I don't know how to stop, and so when I was forced to stop, I had to figure out how to live with myself, and so that became a journey of sounds very cliche, but it was self love. I went and I got a haircut for the first time in a year and a half, and I went to the dentist for the first time in 4 years, and then spent 5 grand on my mouth. I am still fixing my teeth from neglect and not taking care of myself because I didn't care about myself. I wasn't, my main focus. And, so when I started writing music, I decided share with people or don't share with people. Um, I have to I have to feed myself, and that's what that was. So, the first video I put up of my original song was just the beginning, and then I put it up once and I said, "You know what? I'm going to post one time a week for a year, and that's it, and I'll see what happens." And by the very next year, I think I had multiple songs already ready to go. Like, people were hanging out and encouraging me, and then I was like, this is wild, because I was doing this truly for myself, and I still am. And at the end of the day, my music is not to make a living. I don't make a living from it. I'm very poor. My music is to outlive depression, and that's really where I'm at, and
There's
it will stay that way.
there's a lot to unpack here. Let me try to do that if you let me. No, seriously, because man, you just said a lot of stuff, and I really want to kind of work our way through it. The first thing I want to say is, when you leave behind your creativeness at first, you had that other purpose, right? Whatever that was. First, maybe it's your husband and then your child, and so you have this other purpose, right? You mentioned your job. You threw your purpose into that. I'm going to be the best at this. But all that while, even though your purpose has changed, creativeness doesn't just go away. That artistry doesn't go away. In fact, if you ignore it, in my experience, it's just going to make you more miserable, right? So my first question is, before we continue unpacking after that, is what are you doing artistically while your purpose is not music to keep away that misery?
Well, that's a good question. I actually went to culinary school,
Okay.
and then I started creating with food that way. And then I helped manage a couple restaurants here in Nashville. And then when I stopped that job and got a salary job, I really didn't do anything. And that's when I started becoming pretty miserable. I was depressed long before I ended up in the hospital. I just don't think that I came to terms with that because I stopped taking care of myself long before that moment in my life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that ripping my creativity away definitely attributed to that. I didn't learn to hate myself overnight.
No, of course not.
So yeah.
And so the next question is, it's pretty obvious. Now, first of all, I'm married to a woman with chronic illness. Okay, so
Mhm.
I know exactly um, what you're dealing with. Maybe not from a first person perspective, but I see her pain every day. I see her struggle with it. I know how creative she wants to be. I know how productive she wants to be. And I know how much it eats at her when she's not able to, right? So I
Mhm.
understand all of those experiences. So the second thing I really want to unpack from what you said is, all of a sudden, you've kind of stifled your creativeness and found a different purpose, whether that's your job, whether that's your child, and then that is ripped away from you. Now your purpose is gone. So now I imagine that's probably the darkest place you've ever been, right?
Yeah, that was the worst.
So, um, is what was your creativeness, or the music, was that your way out of that darkness, or did you have to stay there a while first to kind of understand that you know something bigger than this is meant for me? Like, do you really have to kind of figure that out?
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like we spend a long time, maybe our whole lives, trying to figure out what our purpose is. I'm a pretty faith-based person, but I got to a point where I think I needed to be where I was to see how good it can be. Even when it's bad, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, my goal in life wasn't necessarily to create music. It was first and foremost figure out how I can love myself because I believe if I can love myself, I can love other people very well. And find the joy when it's hard and show other people how to do that. So what I started doing was taking care of myself because I don't believe we can look in a mirror. Maybe other people can. I can't look in a mirror and say, "Hey, I love you." That just doesn't work. For me, I had to show my brain with action
Mm-hmm.
what's up. And then things slowly started shifting. And I'm still learning that. I'm
Of
still
course.
learning,
Yeah.
you know. But when it came to finding joy, I decided because I could hardly walk. I couldn't drive, I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything. I was going to find a part of my day that was good and I was going to take a picture of it. So now on my phone, I have 57,000 photos, and that's not an exaggeration. I
I
literally
believe
have
it.
maybe
I
over
believe
that
it.
actually at
I
this
believe
point.
that. Yeah.
I took a picture every day of something that was good. So when I laid in bed at night in pain or hurting or just wanting to go, I could look back and be like, man, yeah, this sucks. But remember that. And there's another one tomorrow. And there's another one the day after that. There is good in everything.
Yeah.
It's the perspective that has to change. And some people,
And the
I don't know
acceptance, being
how.
able to accept the good too, has to change, right?
I said, and I still say this, man, I will small talk with grief all day long. I'm not
Yep.
going to sit here and sugarcoat it,
Yep.
but I'm going to hold hands with hope and I'm going to hold hands with joy because it's just as real. And for me, it was very important for me to hit that bottom, to see no matter what comes, and I've lived a long life. I've been through a lot, but it finally clicked. No matter what comes, it will be all right.
Mm.
If it's not if you know, there was a saying that I heard. It was something like, uh, it, in the end, it's going to be okay, and if it's not okay, it's not the end.
Hmm. Love it. So
So
here's
yeah,
a good one for you. You might find this one interesting. Um, there's a difference between really struggling to find that joy, right? Like you're going to struggle to find happiness and all the positive words, hope, joy, happiness, whatever that is. But once you find those things, that's only step one, right? Step two is like convincing yourself at that point that you deserve those positive aspects to your life. So
yeah.
you did mention that you're still learning this, obviously, but like, how are you able to convince yourself, your inner self, that you do deserve joy and hope and all of those things that matter?
I look at, honestly, having my daughter was very helpful for me because I think of her. Another reason that I started doing music was I had her, and I said, I my parents did this to me. They said, you can do or be anything you want. But if I don't believe that for me, how can I tell her the same?
Doesn't matter, yeah. Hmm.
I inherently have the same value. I've lived a longer life, but my values as is, so for having her, that was really the moment where I decided, okay, yeah, I have to believe that I deserve these things, because how am I going to tell her to dream when I can't show her how to do it? That's important.
Hmm. I love that, and so essentially, because you are essentially the educator of your child, now you are able to not only teach yourself the same lessons you want her to learn, but you're also able to share those lessons with people all around the world through your vulnerabilities. And what I mean by that is your songs, your art, and actually be genuine and sincere in those lessons, right? It all comes down to being a parent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's funny because I get told, I get asked a lot. They go, "How can you talk?" Because I'll talk about this all day long, and if I'm up on stage performing or whatever I'm doing, I don't mind. It never hurts me to talk about this. They go, "How can you be so vulnerable?" A lot of people see it as a weakness. I go, "Oh, no, no.
Not at
This is a
all.
strength.
Yeah.
You have to know how strong I had to be here.
Of course.
I am not weak."
Mm-mm.
So I think it's funny because we think of vulnerability as, you might get hurt in the process. You couldn't hurt me. The
Hmm.
only person that can hurt me is myself, my friend.
Yeah.
And anything you could say to me, I've said tenfold. So I'm not really worried about it.
I asked the songwriter one time, I'm going to let her remain nameless, but the people that watch the show will know who it is because she's told the story on the show. But she just performs these amazing sad songs, but the sad songs, the vulnerable songs, are the ones that she's able to teach other people through her hurt what is
Mm.
what how she came out the other side. And I always ask her, because she performs live all the time, how are you able to deliver those songs without ripping your heart out over and over again? And she
Mm.
said that she literally grieves the song as she's writing it, and once she's done grieving, it doesn't hurt her anymore.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. And there's a strength in being able to do that. And there's a lot of people are going to feel a lot less alone by her song. So I'm really glad that she's doing that.
Yeah.